I have no time, honestly, Jack. I have zero time. I work until like 7 every day, and then I'm still replying emails late at night. And I'm thinking about work when I'm dreaming. I think about work when I wake up in the morning.
The interview process is the gateway to a great career. Whether you're new out of school, looking for a first job, or looking to change jobs, recruiters are usually on the other side of that puzzle. This is why we have Samantha today walk us through what recruiters do, what they look for when picking people to join their organization, and some tips on how to get ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha, and I currently lead all of talent for a Fortune 500 CPG company in Canada. I do everything from experience hires all the way to campus recruitment as well.
As a recruiter, a lot of people often have questions that they want to ask recruiters that they can't really ask during the interview process.
Mhm.
So, starting super basic here, what is the process like behind the scenes? We often see a job posting, and then all of a sudden, here's the interview, please show up, and then whether or not you get a job offer. What happens behind the scenes there?
Mhm. So a lot of the times the process starts with sourcing and mining for resumes and good candidates. This is obviously done manually by the recruiters themselves, but now in this day and age with our AI technology and whatnot, we can easily filter people out. But me personally, I like to look at every resume and give everyone an equal chance. And then from there, obviously, we do the interviews. There's a lot of debrief that happens in the background with different hiring managers and the team. And then there's the process of getting the offer approved. And that should be it.
What do you usually look for when you're looking at a candidate?
It's really tough because it depends what you're hiring for. For the most part, I do give everyone an equal chance, granted that they have some relevant experience or they look like they have potential on their resume or transferable skills that can be leveraged in the job that I'm hiring for. And usually, when we get to the interview questions, or the interview portion, it really comes down to passion and drive for me. If you don't have the hard skills or the technical skills, I think that's okay because if a company really wanted you, they can teach you all of that. I think that's why for the interviewee, if you can show passion and talk about your past experiences, that's really good. And then on the flip side, if a hiring manager can also discuss some of the challenges they're facing, what the vision is for the team, that can also show the interviewee what type of manager this person is.
So, here we talk a lot about showing passion and showing that energy and drive. Now, what happens if I'm introverted and I show up for a job interview?
So sometimes in interviews, they will ask you, what do you like doing outside of work? That way, you can talk about something that you are truly passionate about. And I think I was personally an introvert to begin with. I never really liked these conversations, one on ones, confrontation, or things like that. And I think if you can practice with your friends, practicing even in front of a mirror, record yourself, pick up on things, that can really help build your confidence.
And does that really change across industries?
I think it changes across different recruiters. It depends on the type of recruiting they're doing. For me, I am an internal recruiter, so I work for a company where I'm recruiting solely for them. But if you work for an agency, it might be a little bit different, where they do look for those hard skills and get those quick fills because they have quotas to meet.
On the note of
Storybox
compensation,
Our
Audio.
favorite topic.
our favorite topic, how should people approach asking for a raise when they're moving jobs? Because oftentimes we hear stories of the recruiter asking how much you make. What should be the right way of handling that?
I don't think there's a right way. I think you just have to read the conversation and see how it's going. A lot of times I'll ask the question of what your salary expectations are, and then oftentimes I would get back, can I flip it over to you and can you tell me what the budget is? I think that's a good way to turn it on the recruiter. Of course, I hate it when that happens because I'm a recruiter, but as a candidate, I think it's a good way because that way you're not over or underselling yourself. And this might be some insider secret, but always go 10K above what your expectations are if you can. um, if they really want you, they will find the money for you. Like I said, there's budgets and whatnot. So if you can ask them and understand what those are, then you can let them know if it's within your budget or not. Never tell them exactly what you're making right now. Sell yourself higher.
That's great insight.
Yes. I don't like it when people do it to me, but I know they do it.
I mean, oftentimes online we see advice like talk about your all-in compensation, including like benefits, bonus, and just saying that. No?
No. If you tell people you're all in, your all in might be lower than what their base is. So start with their base. Yeah, I've had those situations before. Start with the base, and understand what their budget is there because some other things could be flexible. They might be able to give you other things to offset what they can't pay you in the base or the bonus. It could be a signing bonus. It could be an extra week of vacation, or you could buy an extra week of vacation. Little things like that, that encompasses in the whole like compensation package. It's not just money. Do your research. Again, you can go on like PayScale, Indeed, Glassdoor. They all show salary information, and honestly, just ask the recruiter what their budget is. They should probably be able to tell you, and if they don't, it's a little sketchy. But yeah, just ask the question.
What's the best question that someone has ever asked you during an interview?
I don't think it's the best. I think it's one of the better ones would be what does success look like and how is it measured in this position? I think that's good because it shows that the person wants to understand the role more and understands how they want to or how they can be measured once they're in role and how they can contribute. And even if, say, there is a duration of time before that person is starting in role, they can develop those skills. So I think that's a really good question.
As a recruiter, what do you like most about your role?
I love talking to people, meeting new people. I know this sounds weird because I said I was an introvert before, but I think I really broke out of my shell when I started recruiting, getting to know them and just knowing that you can help this person land possibly the biggest change in their life or something that can change their life is super rewarding for me. So that's a lot of fun.
As a recruiter,
Storyblocks
since this
Audio.
is the more specialized function, some would argue that it's hard to unspecialize in case you ever want to do something else. Where do you see yourself growing in the future, and what are the career options there?
That's a really good question. And I also thought about the same thing because I don't want to be limited to recruiting. I love it, but I also want to be able to develop and grow as well. And I think being in recruiting, like you said, there's a lot of that relationship management piece. So if I ever say wanted to be in an HR business partner position, I would have that relationship already built with the people managers and the employees that I've hired. I know them best because I hired them, right? So I've already had that in my back pocket. But I also think recruiting is also like a sales job. So if I ever wanted to move into sales, I feel like this could be in an area that I could grow into. There's so many new technologies in the recruiting world,
Storyblocks
so
Audio.
many issues coming up that I want to be addressed within the recruiting world, like online video interviewing. And this is not like Skype or video conferencing. I mean, like being able to list a bunch of questions and have your candidates answer there. I've also done something where I've asked my candidates to create a video of themselves about themselves and submit it. And I feel like that way I get to know everyone even a little bit better, especially since we're working from home. And then some other things that are being launched right now, one of them that I use actively is a gender decoder for job descriptions. So this is an app that's available free online where you can enter in your job descriptions and it can highlight any words that are more male or female coded. An example would be like using the word support. That is a female coded word, and then using the word strong or leader, that's a male coded word. And I think that's super interesting because it changes the way we make our job descriptions and how people apply. Certain words in job descriptions can discourage people to apply. If I was, say, applying to a role where it would say things like leader, strong, aggressive, I don't think I want to get into that type of environment. But if you can change these words around and make it a little more inclusive, you will get a diverse pool of candidates, and that makes that tool really exciting.
Some people are really worried about the idea that, hey, there's more and more screening technologies, right? So we talked about recording videos as doing like kind of a pre-interview. Is that a real tool that is useful? Because a lot of people worry that that just narrows them down way before they even get to the interview.
It can be. I think it really depends on the type of interview tool that it is because there are some where there's a time limit for when you can answer these questions. There are other ones where you get the questions in advance and you record your answers on a specific time of a certain day. I think if it's the latter of the two, it can definitely be beneficial for, say, people that might have anxiety or people that are on the spectrum that need that time to practice. So I think these can be extremely beneficial in that case, but it does lack that human touch, that a phone call or like a video interview would normally have.
Okay, so if we look at current events, the pandemic is really changing the work environment. A lot of companies are not hiring as much. If you look on the news, a lot of companies are laying people off. What mindset should people have if they're looking for a new job or getting back into the workforce right now?
Great question. There's going to be a lot of new roles as a result of the pandemic, and new technologies that exist that probably don't exist right now. So I think we just need to shift our mindset and how we're picking the companies we want to work for. Um, a really simple example is if, say, you've always wanted to work in the financial industry and maybe they're doing a lot of layoffs, maybe shifted to think what technologies are the financial or is the financial industry using that you can get into, and in that way you're still supporting the financial industry without directly working for them. I think that would be a really good way to change your mindset. And it's also just looking at new companies that are popping up as a result of it. With the pandemic going on, everyone's working from home. Video conferencing tools are really big, so like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, those are all probably hiring a lot of people, whether it's in a technical role or even in, say, like a customer support role. You can probably find opportunities for that. So I think it's just looking beyond what you're used to traditionally and finding and breaking out of your shell.
If we looked at
Todos
the
hablan.
companies that were the top companies to work for in the past, car companies, airline companies, all of a sudden, they're the ones that are laying people off, and the workforce is kind of shifting away from those industries. So does that mean the merits of being the best company to work in the past doesn't really mean anything moving forward?
It can, because a lot of things can happen, whether it's the pandemic or maybe there's another financial crisis and we go into a recession or a depression. Like, it's really hard to gamble. You never know what's going to be the next big thing or the next best company to work for the next 10 years. What you can do is just do your research and know that you're not always tied down to one company or one industry. There's always new things popping up, and maybe in 5 years there will be a company that doesn't exist right now and you might be working for them at that point, but right now you don't know that. And it might not even exist. So it's just keeping your options open, doing your research and just trying new things. Is that what you're looking for?
That was a great answer.
Oh, okay, good. I'm not sure, but okay, good.
Thank you, Samantha. Really appreciate your time, sharing your insights and some of the tips and tricks behind the scenes.
Yeah, I highly encourage everyone to leave the questions below in the comment box if you have any, but thank you so much for having me. It was great being here.
I was going to ask this really cheesy question: it's like, does GPA really matter? But that's barely.
No, I want to answer that question. I think it depends on, again, what industry you're going into and what company, because some companies, even though they don't explicitly say it, they will only hire from Ivy League or top tier schools. I think the problem with that is sometimes we don't know what the student's financial situation is or socio status is at home, right? They might not, one, be able to afford it. Maybe OSAP or whatever province you're in might not be able to give you enough money to attend that school, or they might even have to work a part-time job in order to put themselves through school, and in which case they won't have that much time to study. And it's, for them, it's really stressful, and just finding that balance between, am I going to get into a good school and am I going to make enough money to see a meal on the table next time. They might have had to work through school, and they didn't have the time to study, so it's not their fault. They didn't choose to have a bad GPA. Yes, it's one thing, but two, like, they're obviously, they have an education and they're trying to get into your company, so like it's just So I think as much as it matters for a lot of companies, I think we need to shift our mindset to think some students might not be able to do it, and we need to look beyond that. We have to see what they can bring to the table in terms of technical skills and just development skills, and how they can contribute to the company as a culture add and not a fit.